Editaudio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, well, enjoying happy moments when you're struggling and grieving. Hey, y'all. I am excited to share today's episode with you. So Emily is a listener who reached out and wanted to talk about all that's been happening in her life. And let me tell you something, it's a lot. So her dad recently passed away, and now she's managing care for her mother who's experiencing early-onset Alzheimer's. And Emily's been juggling being her mom's financial power of attorney, finding appropriate care for her, and trying to grieve the loss of her father. But she has some really lovely things that are going on in her life, too. She's newly out. She met a partner who loves and supports her. So Emily is stuck trying to process all that's happening that's hard and be present for the good. And that is not an easy thing to do. So let's get to Emily.
Hi, my name's Emily Morrison. I'm 29. I live in Brooklyn, New York with my girlfriend and my cat. I work in fitness content as a director. Yeah, that's pretty much a little bit about me.
So let's talk about why you're here today in the Well Adjusting studio.
So I'm here today to kind of talk about how to balance the guilt of being happy when both the saddest moments of my life and the happiest moments of my life are kind of coinciding with each other.
Okay, I'm going to need you to say a lot more. Hopefully you're comfortable about sad moments and happy moments.
Yes.
Give us a little bit about what's going on, and let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with kind of my happy moments first. So I'll rewind a little bit to 2020. I came out in 2020. Yeah.
In case nobody gave you a woo.
There's your woo. I appreciate that. I didn't know I was gay until I got on TikTok and then figured out that I was gay then. Pretty soon after that, I met my girlfriend, who I'm still with. We're going on 3 years. We're about to get engaged. We have a really happy life. We travel. We do all those things. But about a year after we met, my dad went into the hospital and never came out of the hospital. So he passed away in 2022. And then at the same time, I became the sole caregiver for my mom, who has Alzheimer's. It was pretty moderate and quickly increased to an advanced state of Alzheimer's. And I had to make some really hard decisions to put her in a memory care facility. So I am I'm the one who's in charge of everything. I also have a sibling who had never moved out of the house, so they didn't have nearly as much kind of, I don't want to say life experience, but that's kind of it. I was the one who pays the bills and everything. So it's been a hard balance of living my happy life as starting my own family and getting to do all of these things. I have a good job, I have a good relationship, but then balancing it with all of the kind of grief that's going on.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm so sorry about your loss. I mean, for your dad, it's no easy thing, and you're young. I experienced that really young as well, and it can be difficult because I don't know if this is your experience, but when you're the first one to go through this, I think sometimes there isn't a ton of support from friend groups because they haven't lived it, and they're doing their 20s, 30s thing, and they don't understand how devastating it can be. So I don't know if that's something you're experiencing.
Absolutely. The majority of people who reached out to give condolences to say that they were going through the same thing are people who were in their 50s, 60s, people who were my dad's age, consoling me. And then to, on top of it, be going through the Alzheimer's memory care hellscape that is. Just no one that I know is even close to dealing with that. And people who are much further established in their lives and their financial situations and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's I can't tell you how many people reached out to me when their parents died 20 years after my parents died and were like, I'm really sorry. And I was like, it's fine. You didn't know. How would you know? You know what I mean?
Right.
How would you know until it's something you've been through or you've seen someone close to you? And I also am thinking about that idea of like sometimes when you're in a bad place and you're like on the subway or you're, on a highway and you're looking around and you're thinking, I'm in this space and everyone else is just going about their day. And you have this weight of all of this on you. And that can be a lot. So I first just really want to just say, I'm so sorry that you're in this position because it's a lot.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I mean, first and foremost, before we can even get to like your joy, which by the way, congratulations. Like you come out, you're already on the road to engagement. Like you're like, I don't know if you identify as a lesbian, but I'm making you an honorary lesbian if you didn't, because it's very lesbian.
Yeah, it's quite lesbian.
Like, let's just start with the logistics of memory care and of Alzheimer's or, dementia type situation are really difficult. So like, do you have support? Are you managing all that? Like, talk to us a little bit about that, like what your day looks like and how you get through all that.
Yeah, so I really had to do all of the research by myself. A lot of people who were further along in this journey or who were much older before they had to put their parents in memory care, like their parents were already on government subsidized things. And my mom is very young. My mom is about to turn 60. So she is really ahead of the curve with this. Yeah. So I had to do a lot of the research on my own. She lived in New Jersey at the time. New Jersey is the most expensive state in the country for assisted living and memory care. So I had to then figure out what's a close state that I could get to from New York, like on a train, because I don't have a car, that I can go and visit her all the time. So we landed on Delaware because I thought Delaware was going to be cheaper. And now a year into memory care, we're at the rates of where we would be in New Jersey. So
plus you're adding in trains.
Yeah, sure. So now I'm looking at more radical options. I'm considering moving my mom to Mexico for better and more affordable care.
What?
That's a thing? That is a thing. It's about a third, if not a quarter of what it is in America. And I personally do have a connection there. But yeah, it's kind of a thing in this space where you kind of have to find your own path because it's not cut and dry of where you go with this. And I did weigh heavily on the decision to put my mom somewhere that would give her care, because the other option would be that I gave up my whole life to care for her, which, I'm getting a little emotional, but
it's okay. It's okay.
That was definitely a hard decision, but I know now, and I knew then too, that was going to be the right thing. Not me giving up my whole life to care for my mom.
Well, it's just not, it's not, hopefully you're not holding yourself to some like guilt place. It's not feasible.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not feasible. I mean, you would have to have round the clock care, but then there'd be no way that you could, I don't know how you earn a living and do that. I don't know. I mean, so I hope you're not beating yourself up in any way about that decision.
I'm not, but I also wish that I could have my mom closer to me. So that I could be there all the time. I don't know how much difference that would make in the current situation, but...
Well, sometimes I think it's for you with a memory care situation.
Yeah.
Depending on... Can I ask, and I hope this is okay, like, where is she in the process? Like, is she early stages or is she more moderate or like... I think we're not sure she knows you?
She's in the moderate stages. She knows me, but she has no scope of how to care for herself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then this is something you have to do. This is hard. I'm just going to say, because like this butts up against, Steph and I call ourselves fixers all the time. Yeah. Like we say we're helpers, but really we're fixers. And especially when there's emotions involved. As soon as you started crying, I was like,
sorry.
Okay, no, please. Oh my God, don't you ever apologize for crying. But it makes me be like, we have to fix this for Emily. And so I'm trying to take deep breaths and just be with you in this space too, because it's, this is just difficult. This is going to be one of those conversations where we can talk about, when we're going to talk about self-care. That's why I really want to start off by saying, I hope that you're not beating yourself up, because it's important that you are going through a death right now as well. on the heels of another death.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just want to start off and say that. And so we have to just like, we're all like me, Steph, and you are just sitting here holding hands right now and just like, we're in it. That's how I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that there is no like, we'll do this and it'll get better. Like, it's
There's
like
no
you
fix.
are,
Yeah.
no, you are just like, how do you go through this in a way that does the least damage on everyone?
Right.
And I think in some ways, if you can give yourself that permission just to start, that's going to give you some access. Like, and I think you're already starting to do it. Like, I'm already starting to hear you say things like, I wish I could be closer to her, so it's like, what are the important things for her care? And what are the important things for you and your care?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you, like, how you are approaching this. Like, do you have support of your sibling? And you mentioned that they haven't left the house, and they're maybe not as far along on a path. Or, I mean, let's not put it in a linear path, Robin, but like, let's just say like they just have different skills than you do. Are you able to maybe be like, I need this help from you? Or is this solely resting on your shoulders?
I can get some help from them, but when it comes to like all of the things that you have to do that deal with legal things, like I am my mom's legal power of attorney.
Okay.
So there's only so much help that you can get with those things, but I do have the support of my sibling in the sense that like we are in this ship together. Sorry for cursing, but yeah.
No, please curse away.
Okay.
This is the only place I'd push you. Is there, like, it's important that there's that defined, like, you're the legal, person, you're the proxy and all of that. That's great. But like, I would push you to say, is there more that you could perhaps say, could you research this as well? Like, and there may not be, like, because some of this is just the emotions of this, but is there anything that you could offload?
I truly don't think so.
Okay.
I am in a better mental and physical headspace than my sibling is. They have a lot of things that they're currently going through, aside from the things that we're both doing. And so since I'm the one who's in therapy and the one who's a little further along in my personal journey, right now, I think that I'm the sole person to do those things. But I do have the support of my girlfriend, and my girlfriend's family are very helpful and constantly sending me things of, you should do this, or you should move mom here. And while some of that is unhelpful, it is nice to have the support system of that.
I think sometimes those things are just helpful to remember that you're not alone, that there's a community, even if it's not something that maybe is like you can use, or it just is like, okay, at least people are looking out for me. And that's certainly better than the void of nothingness.
Definitely.
Do you and your sibling have the support of each other to like just sort of like vent or talk about the like emotional side of it? Or do you feel more alone in that as well?
No, I definitely think that we can talk about the emotional side of it. I think that so for context, when my dad passed away, they were still living at home. So they became the sole caregiver for my mom until I had set up some in-house care for my mom. And we did that for a couple months before we realized that just was not working. They were working and then they were coming home and taking care of my mom. And so I know that took a huge toll on their mental health, their well-being. So I think that it took them a lot longer to process things that were going on because they didn't have time to sit in the grief. Not that I had time to sit in the grief before having to do all this, but I want to give them credit that they were doing the day-to-day groundwork on helping my mom for a few months before we could really move her somewhere that would give her better care.
People are really like surprised by this, but like a memory care facility can be like $13,000 a month, if not more.
We're paying $9,000 right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's insanity on stilts. And I think that especially someone who's not quite 60, like I plan on, trying to financially set things up to move things into trusts, when the kids go to college. But like I'm turning 54, so that would blindside me and I would not have enough time to protect assets. So I'm making the assumption that wasn't something that happened. So are you all able to afford it? And for the duration of her care, is that another huge stressor?
That's definitely a huge stressor. I'm thankful that my dad had a good life insurance policy and a good pension payout upon his passing, but that is not going to hold forever.
Yeah.
It's certainly not going to hold for care that is just going to go up and up. We're already at $9,000. With other things, it's over 10K a month, which is just not
Well, and as they
sustainable.
progress too, they start adding on, right? Like when as they get worse, then they're like, oh, well, now they need more care. And so that's another $2,000 a month. Like it's like, it feels like just such a fucking racket, the industry.
It is. Yeah. And there's no way to pay for it. You would have had to start getting insurance in your 30s to even potentially cover this, because it's completely separate from healthcare. It's a hellscape when I look at the assisted living and memory care makeup of the country. It's really hard.
And I think some people bank on the idea that like, okay, well, I'm not planning on getting any of my parents' money, so we'll run all the money out that they have, and then the state kicks in. But when the state kicks in, then you're in a state-run facility, and that doesn't mean that those are good facilities. And anyone who loves their parent, that's difficult to put your parent in a place like that.
That's exactly the case, and that's what everyone.
I think a lot of people don't know that.
People don't know that, and that's what a lot of people are confused about when I say that I want to move my mom elsewhere, because I don't want to deplete her funds entirely. I don't think that that's a smart thing to do, and I don't want her care to decrease as she gets older. So by moving her somewhere where I could actually afford the care that is better care than what she's getting in the US for a fraction of the price, I could continue to pay for that level of care for much longer. Like I could sustain it rather than decreasing her care at the most fragile time of her life.
Hi, friends. If you listen to this show, then you know it is never a bad thing to ask for help. And sometimes we might even need help on a cellular level. I mean, who would have thought? And that's where our friends over at Timeline come in. Timeline is a Swiss life science company that has spent 10 years doing research to bring their product MitoPure to the market. 10 years, folks, that's a commitment. Now, on this show, we often talk about what happens over the long term, and unfortunately, aging is a part of that process. So are you ready for a quick science lesson? Okay, great. Mitochondria are our cells' power generators, okay? They're a key influence in how we age. And as we get older, mitochondrial efficiency, it naturally declines. And that's where MitoPure comes in. MitoPure is clinically shown to give our cellular energy generators new power by triggering the body's natural process for removing and rebuilding damaged mitochondria. You can think of MitoPure as like little Pac-Men in your cells just chomping up the damaged mitochondria that make you feel tired, and they're going to recycle it into new healthy ones. Now, you can take MitoPure in two ways. Talking soft gels for when you're on the go and you want something super convenient, or they have a berry powder mix, which can be incorporated into breakfast. Maybe, your daily yogurt, your smoothie, or if you're me, a Coke Zero. So taking 2 MitoPure soft gels a day for only 2 months, it can help you feel big improvements in your cellular energy, muscle strength, and endurance. After 4 months, you'll feel yourself getting stronger and experiencing less inflammation and recovering faster after workouts. I mean, who would not want that? So Timeline has a special offer for you, my amazing listeners. Timeline is offering 10% off your first order of MitoPure. You're going to go to timeline.com/RobHop. That's TIMELINE.com/RobHop. Go get it, folks. Now, I want to ask you, because I think there's something that a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of. And I think when I say this out loud, everyone listening, and you included, Emily, I'm not being gross, but this is like financial Robin who's talking. I know that there are avenues where you, as the executor of her estate and her account and her well-being, that you can pay yourself and your sibling out of their money to try to like bring the estate down so that you would at least have control of it. Is that something that you've looked into?
No, it's not right now. I do have a financial advisor, and I did talk to a lawyer when we were first doing all of this, but I haven't paid. I've paid myself back for things that I was paying out of pocket before my dad's life insurance came in. But other than that, I have not dipped into my mom's money in any way other than to pay for her care.
And so just for clarity, I don't mean to like save the money for yourself. I mean to put aside in an account like so that it's protected so that you might be able to take care of your mom in a different way. But so I wonder,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mean to like, I mean, it is literally like paying yourself a salary for the care. Like I said, it feels really super gross. And I remember my father going through this with his mother, but his sibling was like, no, we're never doing that. It's gross. And he was like, I'm not talking about keeping it for myself. I'm talking about putting it into an account that we then use for her care. But it keeps the money, it pulls the money out of this state. It gets you to that state situation faster, which is good or bad. But it might help, I don't know, for qualifying for things. I would just say that's something to maybe look into with your lawyer because it might be an option that helps you financially.
Okay. Yeah. No, that is something that I should look into. And I have looked into that in some way in forms of like trusts and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the ship has sailed on the trusts. I mean, I believe because there's a 5-year, it's either
it's a 5-year look back.
5-year look back, right? So like, I don't think there's anything you could do and but I mean, if she has 5 years, that's like, and this is the part that starts to feel really awful because you have to start to have these conversations where you're like, you're gaming out lifespan and finances and it can feel really awful. And so I just want to like, that's why I'm thrilled to hear that you have a therapist in place and a support system because those conversations are necessary. People avoid them because they're uncomfortable, but they're important.
Yeah.
In order to optimize what you can do. Again, I'm going to say this, not just for your mom, but for you and for your sibling, because this is a toll that you all are living in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is still a field with Alzheimer's and dementia care that's just not researched enough to know how long someone's life expectancy is. My mom could live 20 more years, and I don't know. It's really hard because you really just don't know. Are you planning for 5 years? Or are you planning for 20? And those are very different when it comes to the astronomical costs that we're dealing with.
At $9,000 a month, those are incredibly different. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to say that like there's also like I know we're talking about the finances for saving for those things, but I remember like I cared for my Nana when she was dying and I spent so much time doing, like she had cancer and it would increase in different ways and then get better and then get worse and then get better and then get worse. And there were so many things that I did to manage those things because I'm a fixer. So I'd make like different drug plans or I'd have people over to the house to see if that care would help. And I tried so many things and I'm like glad I did that. But I don't think I ever realized the like emotional toll that was taking on me until like months and months and months after her passing. So I mean, it sounds like you're more in touch with yourself than I am, but I think I just want to like reflect that back to you that like you're doing a lot. And I think sometimes when we're doing a lot, we have to focus in the thing that we're doing, but to just be mindful of how that might be affecting you outside of this and emotionally and in other parts of your life, because it's really not an easy thing that you're doing at all.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's fucking shitty that you have to do it also.
It is. It really is. I thought this was something I would have to deal with much later in my life. I mean, that's not the case.
And that's hard as well. And it's like, so I'm glad that Steph said that because I think that coincides with where I wanted to take this, which is to say your initial question, how to celebrate good things in the midst of horrible things happening. And so I just want to ask you some questions like before Steph and I jump into fixer helper mode, what are you doing to celebrate like your relationship, your coming out, just you?
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
celebrate's the wrong word, by the way. I mean,
sure.
Like that's a woo, have a party. No, I mean like to enjoy those moments.
it's been a real interesting balance having all of this kind of coincide at the same time, but
Yeah.
I try as much as I can to stay present in my current relationship. I mean, my girlfriend comes from like a very different background than I do. Like she has a big family and they all took family vacations, and so that's just like part of their life to travel. Like it's like embedded in her, and I think that that has helped me kind of take time away from the stress of every day for her to just be like, we're going on the family trip to Germany. You're either coming or you're not.
You're coming.
So,
I'm saying that right
yes,
now.
yes.
You're always going. You say
I'm
yes.
always going. I'm always going. But at the same time, like the thing that comes to mind, like I could be on a beach sipping a pina colada, and then I remember, oh my God, my mom is in a memory care facility, and like my body just tells me, you have to feel guilty about this. How dare you be happy when like other people in your life are like struggling right now? So that's just, I don't know if where the guilt comes from, if it's being a woman,
Well,
if it's being the eldest daughter, or I don't know. But
or just because you're a lovely person that cares about people. How about that?
yeah,
And,
maybe that
and
too.
Emily,
Yeah.
I'm gonna sub in for your mom here for a second, and I'm just gonna say, I can't imagine a world, in any world, I don't know your mom, where she would want you to suffer. I am a mom, and I'm gonna start crying. Stupid
Sorry.
crying. I would never, ever, ever want that for my kids, Emily. And you, like, your mom had you so you could live, so you could have a wonderful life. One of the things that I can tell you, having a 15-year-old daughter right now, is the thing that I find most amazing is watching her live. I'm not even kidding. Like, she's in Lisbon right now and she is living her best life. And I am feeling just daily like joy and pride and just this absolute like love for her life. And I know your mom would want that for you. So I'm not a person who says compartmentalize your shit, but maybe compartmentalize your shit a little bit. And when you have those moments, like, how do we bring you back to being present to the love and the joy that's around you? You know, again, so happy you have a therapist in place. Are you considering anything like meditation or that kind of work? Like myself, like telling on myself right now, and Steph will agree, I'm probably one of the worst people about being in the moment. It's not my natural habitat. Like my natural habitat is, well, this is going to all fail. So the practice of bringing yourself back is one that I think is incredibly helpful, and it might be helpful for you to come back to the beach and think about your mom would want this for you. And I know she would.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that I currently have a practice in place. I think that as someone who has been experiencing like real grief for the first time since my dad died, I know in myself now that grief is just like a wave. Like you will get hit with it and then it goes. And you could be crying 1 second and then completely fine the next. And so I think that
Or even laughing.
Or even laughing. Of course, there's been a lot of laughing. I was joking hours after my dad died to try to make myself feel better. We had a meeting. I had a meeting with every doctor that he had at the hospital the day before he died, and they were like, he has 6 months max, and then he died the next day. And I was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
You're like,
no one wants to talk about death, but like, it's pretty funny. It's sometimes funny. Like
it can be funny.
It can be. It can be.
I love this example coming up because I feel like it's like a really good moment of reminding ourselves that both feelings exist at the same time. Like you obviously were not sad. Like you were sad of your dad passing
Obviously,
in that moment.
yes.
And then you obviously still had the capacity to find something funny and hold that emotion too. And those existed at the same time. And I think, you know, in moments where like you're on the beach drinking a pina colada and feeling guilty about someone else's pain, it's like a nice reminder that like both of those things, you can feel happy for yourself and sad for someone else in the same moment. without it turning into a monster of guilt.
Right.
Yeah. And your wave analogy like goes further on, builds on to what Steph's saying. I don't know, it's been 20 years since my mom died, and I still sometimes will like just start crying. And then I'm like, what the fuck? But it'll be a year between that, or 6 months, or it doesn't, that it's no longer like, I keep getting this vision lately of I'll be like walking, and especially like when I'm really connected, if I'm like in nature or something and I'm having a moment where I'm feeling really connected, I all of a sudden will get a flash of my parents standing kind of behind me, like very Harry Potter, like just looking, and they're smiling and they're just like with me. And that transition comes, but it takes time. And I imagine even the thing that's hard for I think for many people with like dementia or Alzheimer's is your parent is in a way dying in real time, but they're still here. Like you're still having to do all the care, but you're losing them. And I think that is so much harder to deal with in many ways.
I agree. Yeah. Especially, because they're physically there, but mentally it's going away. But the other hard part of it is that like I have turned into my mom's parent, which is like losing one parent and then you've lost both of them at the same time because the other one doesn't have the capacity anymore is a really strange situation to be in. My mom refers to me sometimes to other people at her care home that, oh, my mom's here today. My mom's here today. And like, so it's both like a nice thing and also just a really
it's a
hard and strange thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that there is just no way around the fact that you're just very, very, very much in this. Yeah. And like my instinct is to just like, I want you to remember that your mom would want you to live and love and be connected as much as you can. My instinct is to say, if you are able to maybe start a practice of just like of that moment of like remembering, oh, I'm out. Let me try to come back. I'm on a beach. I have a pina colada. I'm here because of my mother. And maybe like ride that wave a little of just like have your sadness, have your feelings, and then go, but she'd want me to come back, and then come back and start a practice of that. My instinct is also to say a support group. I mean, I can't imagine a world where there aren't a million Alzheimer's or dementia related support groups. And I think that conversation is so specific. And having been a person who's done group work, like I'm in and out, I pop in and out of like eating 12-step meetings. One of the things that I find that's very different from therapy is I might not want or need to say anything, but to hear myself reflected back in a group of other people is comforting in the weirdest way. Like I might just hear their struggle. It makes me feel less alone. And I think that could be an avenue that might be really helpful for you.
Yeah.
I want you to have something on your calendar that's once a month you go get a massage if you can afford it, or daily you're taking a walk. Like, let's talk about things that you can put in place that are going to provide support in the pool for you.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely try to get out and go for walks and find my alone time, because my alone time is sometimes the best thing for me to come back and be able to be present in my relationship, be present at work. I wouldn't say that I'm someone who meditates, but could be something that I get into.
By the way, don't discount walking meditation. I'm like
That's
not
true.
a great
That's
sitter,
true.
but I love a walking meditation because it works for my busy mind.
I've been biking a lot lately,
it.
which in New York is strangely meditative because the entire time all you're doing is pothole, car, pothole,
you got to be in a zone. You got to be in a zone.
I don't have time to think about anything else.
Yes.
So that I've been describing that to my girlfriend as weirdly meditative.
Well, it's what it is. It's a very present activity.
Yes.
You cannot,
Correct.
like when I play tennis, I can't be thinking about something else because I'm only thinking about my forehand. And I love that hour and a half when I play because I can't think about other things. So I think and you shouldn't be thinking about other things if you're biking in New York City. Like,
No.
please do not think about anything
not.
else but the potholes and idiots with doors swinging open.
Yeah. Something that has been strangely therapeutic in the last couple years of my life for many different reasons is posting on TikTok and trying to make light of situations. I found a community there, which I know is not a support group, but I was shocked at how many people felt similarly to me in a variety of situations, whether it was dealing with random shit after my dad died or talking about how difficult it is to become a parent to your parent or weird things about coming out later in life. Like that weird internet, like whatever you want to call it, like is so helpful in so many ways.
Yeah, it's validating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think what's interesting is it's a fine line between support and a to-do list. And I know, especially when my mom died, because it was like, in some ways, there's a parallel to like what you're saying. She didn't have dementia, but she was an alcoholic and she was like progressively kind of just getting worse. And it was like, and then her just health started declining and it was just like you were just waiting and you just never knew and you never knew who you were going to get. And so like I experienced that same thing that you're talking about losing someone in real time, but they're still here and still trying to deal with them. It was different, completely different, but like there's similarities.
It's not that different. Yeah.
Yeah. And afterward, I went into to-do list mode and I was like, I will meditate. You know, it was like, and I went to a yoga class. I don't fucking love yoga. It's not for me, but I went to yoga and I realized I was trying to make the pain go away. And I think the hardest thing for us often is to just remember we have to just, like, when we fight, when we clench against it, it stays longer. And when if we just be and just let it come and let it go. But it's, goddamn, that's so fucking hard to do.
Yeah, it is. But it's also, I find like the only thing that can like help you keep going. Fighting against it does not work. I've been crying this entire podcast. I'm a very emotional person. So yeah, you just have to let it go sometimes. I haven't let it go in quite some time, and that's probably why I've been crying for 50 minutes. But yeah, like it's you have to let the human emotion hit you. Bottling it up does not work. So
it sure doesn't.
I agree with that.
One thing that I think is really interesting is that, you reached out to us. You're a talker. Do you feel a release when you talk?
I do. I definitely like to get things off my chest. I'm not good about bottling things up. I become not myself if things are bottled up.
Yeah.
I also feel very passionate now about, even though my story is not comfy for people to hear, like when people ask me about my family and I say, oh yeah, well, my dad died and my mom's in memory care now. It's just, they're facts, but it also sounds like a sob story and it makes people very uncomfortable to hear because they don't know what to do with that. But yeah. I really try now to like get people to think about that when it comes to their own parents and like just think about preparing for those kinds of things. Anytime I hear anyone in my life now say, oh, I had this weird conversation with my mom today where she was like forgetting things. I'm like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go see mom. We're going to get all the paperwork in line because, this sounds like something's happening here. And I was put in a situation where like my dad didn't have a will. He didn't have a plan for my mom. My mom didn't have anything. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like by talking about not only my pain and my grief, but also talking about the reality of things that I feel like a lot of people avoid. People don't like mortality, but by talking about it, like, I think it can maybe not lessen the blow, but set you up better for when it eventually finds you, because, everyone's going to have to deal with something like this in their lifetime. And by being a little bit more prepared for it, or by it being a little bit more normalized, I think it might help someone.
Well, and I love that you have already, in so many ways, become an advocate. It's not fun to be the leader among your friends, but, you're taking that already and being like, hey, you got to sort this, and you've got a community online that you're already starting to talk to and share with, and like those things, like if one person hears that and does something different that helps their path for their parents and them, that's a win. So I think that's really incredible, and you should be really proud. I think the other thing that I would add in around the present thing is whenever you can to remind yourself of you're doing a damn good job, Emily. Like you are stepping up in a way, and don't throw that away, because many people don't. Like just put their parents in the least common denominator place, and I do mean the least expensive place, and just are like, well, this is that. And you're taking care of your mom in a way that, I'm sure she wishes that you didn't have to. So I hope that you are taking time to, if that guilt comes up when you're sitting on that beach with the pina colada, I do want you to remember those two things. Your mom would not want that, and you are doing a damn good job, Emily. And I think it's really important you remember both of those things. Like I'm so happy that you chose us to have this conversation with, that you reached out, and I we say this all the time, but we mean it all the time. You keep in touch, and we're here.
I really appreciate that.
Ugh. So wasn't that just like a lovely chat? Emily's crying. I'm crying. Everybody's crying. But, I stand by how cathartic it is to just share your experience. Like whatever is actually going on for you. It could be the pain, it could be the joy, all the feelings. I think that it helps to process and helps us feel less alone. And somehow it can end up bringing hope to what can feel like hopeless situations. I say that community is critical. And if you are in Emily's shoes or, something similar, build up that community. I mean, look at our gal, Emily. She's got all kinds of emotions going on, but she's sharing through it all. And I just love that. So I wanted to share one of Emily's TikToks. This is a POV video. Best responses when she tells people her mom has early onset Alzheimer's in her 50s.
Alzheimer's. Yeah, my Gam had that. Yeah, she developed it in 97. So, literally so sad. She was so young. Oh, jeez. Yeah. No, my dad's cousin's boss's wife has that. No, I've never met her. No. Oh my God, yeah, I know exactly how you're feeling. My mom forgets things sometimes, and it's like so scary. Like, yeah, jeez, Janine. Remember things.
Emily's going to be just fine, y'all. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an editaudio original series. It's exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Our producer and editor is Maria Passingham, and our production manager is Kathleen Speckert. Thank you to the entire editaudio team and to you for listening. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.